All right, great. That's done.
Did you figure out if you could share your screen on it?
Oh, this is your band.
You guys sound very far away. I'm going to turn the volume up really loud on this. You still sound very far away.
Look at that microphone. That's using the wrong speaker.
Yeah, for sure.
Drop down where it says volume. Like that.
Oh, up here. Thank you.
To that Intel. Yeah.
Okay, hopefully it doesn't blow us away. Ah, that's better. Thank you, Mike. You guys are good.
Okay. You can hear us?
Yes.
Okay, loud and clear?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you, Britt. All right, so we're good to go from the tech side.
Is Leslie expected?
Leslie is ill today, so she's not coming. And Joan is still in Florida.
So
You just
let's
answer the
call us
question.
to order.
Good.
Okay, so we'll call to order at 4 p.m. I'll do a quick roll call. Mike Beretta.
Here.
Hannah Murray.
Here.
Joan Case is excused. Leslie Pila is excused. Josh Whitmore.
Here.
Ray Bunce.
Here.
Myself as an invited guest. We have Tara Patton. Everybody, this is Lisa Williams, our new admin support. We have Brittany Woodburn. We have Jackson Bailey and Matt Freeze. So full house today. And then on screen, we have L2 Architects. I'm going to have us do the approval in the minutes really quick, and then I'm going to let them go first to talk about 247 Main Street, just so we don't take up their time. This gentleman is Mick Lombardini. I'm circling with the cursor. And Corey looks like he just stepped away.
Yeah, no, Corey's just grabbing a pen and paper.
Great. So we want to approve the minutes quickly first.
Were those edits that I sent cool? Good, good.
Yep, Tara made those edits. So we would be approving them as revised.
So moved. Second.
Thanks, guys. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
When you printed them the first time, right?
We probably need another one for the, so that was regular.
That we
meeting,
gave,
not for annual.
Yeah,
Sheila
and also for
Sarah.
annual meeting.
So,
The
same
cover sheet
proof
looks
with
way
the
better.
annual
It's
board
all
minutes.
detailed.
Is there a motion to approve it?
Oh, yeah.
So moved.
Thanks, Mike, is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Josh. All those in
Color,
favor?
isn't color.
Aye. Any opposed?
Red.
Yeah, well, I want to,
Okay.
they're like waiting for us, and we did
Oh,
read
yeah.
them, I hope we all read them in
We
advance.
have them
Yeah.
somewhere.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we-
So, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Very well.
Yeah.
Okay. So I sent
So,
all the questions to you guys that had come up. So I figured, I don't know if you want to just kind of go into it, or Hannah, you want to, it's up to you
no,
guys.
we reviewed the questions.
Okay, great.
So, if you want to, maybe, let's talk about the flood. The questions related to flood prevention.
Yep.
Okay, so Sarah, you and I, we've had a couple conversations about flood certificate and how the village of Owego is supposed to sign off on a certificate. So can we just speak to that before we get into maybe some of the other details on flood prevention?
Yeah, definitely. So there is an ongoing conversation with the Village of Owego under their village code, and then also under state law. We have an email back and forth with FEMA talking about how historic properties are exempt from having to raise it. So under the village code, if you're doing any type of renovation that's more than 50% of the value of the property, you technically would have to raise it above the base flood elevation by 2 feet. In this case, because it's historic, it's exempt from that. We had that documentation. I'm just waiting on Mr. Knapp to sign my letter, which I've hand delivered and stamped for him exactly where he needs to sign it. And then as soon as I get that, I can give it to them so they have that documentation.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that makes sense to everyone before we kind of get into, yeah. Okay. One of the other questions has to do with utilities. So our game plan is to move all the utilities up to the first floor. So, our boiler will be on the first floor, hot water heater will be on the first floor, the electric panel will be on the first floor. Like all that stuff will be located in kind of like a utility closet. Actually 2 utility closets on the first floor. So the only thing that will be in the basement will be some like piping, like any of our sanitary piping that has to come out of the foundation wall, connect to the municipal system, gas, water, those 3 things that stuff will still be in, I guess, wouldn't really call it a basement, but it's like a basement / crawl space. So those types of utilities will still be there, and those are allowed to be in there. But the main equipment will be moved to the first level. So I know that was a question on one of the comments on the PDF.
Is that first
So
level?
I just wanted to sort of adjust that we do have plans to move that stuff to the first level.
We have one
And then-
question, real quick.
Is that first level base flood elevation +2 or 3?
That is probably not, and that's why Sarah's gonna get a certificate to exempt us from obviously raising the whole structure, because it's a historic building.
Yeah, but I don't know if it exempts you from raising like actually flood proofing, raising the utilities as well. That's something to check into.
Well, and there's also there's the letter of the law, but then there's the spirit of flood proofing and protecting this substantial investment. So is it possible within that utility room to make sure everything is BFE +2, even if you have to build a little, even if the panel's higher than usual or
Well, so
whatever?
let's just pause for a second,
Sure.
right? So we would have to know an elevation certificate, like we'd have to get an elevation certificate to understand what that elevation is plus the 2 feet. So I'm assuming, Sarah, we don't have that, right? And I had mentioned, do we need to get that? And,
We can
you
get
know,
to that, no
we
problem.
didn't obviously do an elevation certificate on the project. So if we want to do some flood preventions to like put the boiler up on, well, the boiler's actually going to be attached to a wall, but again, your answer is, what is the elevation certificate +2? Is it above that level? And then the hot water heater also can be built on like a stand of some sort, or we can actually do like an instantaneous hot water system where that's also mounted to the wall up above the elevation +2. But again, my point is, we don't have an elevation certificate to tell us what that is.
Yeah, so we can get you.
Yeah, if we're gonna determine information, then the county's gonna have to order a survey.
Yeah.
Well, we have a survey, but it's just an elevation certificate.
But the
Yeah.
surveyor is gonna establish that.
Right,
number.
and so Sarah, I had mentioned, it's at Etzel and,
William and Etzel.
yeah, and we agreed that we just weren't gonna do that, but they can do that because they actually provided us with a survey. So if that's something that we need to do, I just need to connect with them.
And we will have an issue, not an issue, but just something to keep in mind as of 2026. All the base flood elevations changed because they now go by the 500-year flood, not the 100-year flood.
Also, I want to put in there, or ask a question, isn't there local code enforcement involved?
Yes.
So wouldn't they be telling us what those levels are and everything?
They will.
I mean, I don't think that we would need to pay more money for.
Typically, the municipality does not tell us what the base flood elevation is. That's where the elevation certificate comes into place.
Yeah, so
But they
that's
would
something
tell you
that's
if it meets
established by
code.
a licensed surveyor.
Licensed surveyor.
The county or the town is not gonna have exact records for what the elevation is on a per property basis.
They administer the section in the code that says it's the base flood elevation plus the 2 feet. Like, that's their responsibility, but it's not the responsibility to provide us with that physical number.
Right, actual document. Yeah.
Point, but they shouldn't.
So it sounds like, Mike, you will figure out how to get them that.
Yeah, we're gonna need that elevation certificate because even with the exemption, I'm pretty sure you can't get a building permit without it in the flood plain.
And it sounds like on the project we recently completed on 81 North, that did go through and they provided us, the surveyor provided us.
Well, yeah, so you do have to pay for that though.
Yeah. When I spoke to William and Etzel, I'm pretty sure he said that at one point they had done one, so I can probably just
I
ask
was
them for
just
it.
gonna say, I think we did
Yeah.
do one already.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure William and Etzel has it already, so I will get that from them.
Other than if we did it last year, the number, but flood plain number may be different.
Maybe different. I will follow up on that.
They just give you the base flood, so.
Yeah,
Just the base flood elevation.
Because they base it
But
off.
they'll give you the elevation of the house and then the code enforcement
So it
officer.
gives you the flood elevation.
Yes.
I just know that's a big check box that you're not
Mhm.
supposed to get a building permit without one even.
Right.
no matter
So
what.
yes, that would have been part of
And
the
they love to
process
get
once we
building
take
permits
these
without
plans
them.
to code.
And all come up, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but to have it in advance so that we can plan for those utilities from the get-go, or almost the get-go is a positive.
Yeah, and even like our bathroom that we didn't raise or anything, we still had to put all the utilities, base flood plus two. Like the hot water heater's up on this stupid stand like he's talking about, like way up there.
But we can also, I mean, we don't necessarily have to do like a traditional hot water heater. We can also do like an on-demand, which is, it's basically a suitcase that gets secured to a wall. So it's no different than a boiler. Today, they're like suitcases, and then they obviously get mounted to a wall. So Sarah, I was just overhearing your conversation, and I do think that William Etzel, I think they do have one. I just never reached out to them to get it.
Yep, that's fine.
So,
Yep, no biggie.
So if you want, I could just send them an email.
Sure.
Okay, so I'll just do that, and we'll get that certificate, and then we'll figure out what that number is, plus two. So I think that's part of it. And then I think there was another question about other flood prevention type of things, like maybe putting in flood vents. It's definitely something that we can do. Again, it's not required because we're exempt, but I think it's a good measure for us to sort of accommodate those. Do flood vents, they typically like a foot off grade. They open, they allow the flow of water to kind of pass through, so it doesn't cause any structural deficiencies like with the foundation system too. So if that's something that you guys are adamant about, it's something that we can easily put into the project. It's not an issue for us.
Yeah, I think that would help.
Can you estimate what that additional cost will be?
I don't know, what is it, flood vent, like $300 a flood vent, and then you gotta install it.
You're probably looking at maybe like $1,000 installed per vent.
Per vent, and so you got two each side. That's two, four.
Like an extra 4,000 or 5,000.
Four. So then the other two on the other side, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's probably like what, six grand maybe?
It's in that range.
6 grand, like six.
Yeah.
We're just kind of
Yeah.
spitball, but it's probably around 6 grand because there's probably going to be two on each elevation. But there's actually a calculation that you do.
Right.
Yeah. We might get
Might
by
be able to
with
get
just
less.
two on each long side of the
Two
house.
on each long one, and not two on the other.
Yeah, and that might work. It just depends on the spacing and the
Yeah.
amount of square footage that we're doing.
It's
There's a little calculation involved.
there is.
Um,
So let's just say it's roughly like $1,000 installed, like a flood vent. So let's just say we needed 4, that's 4,000. If we needed 6, it's like 6,000. So it's somewhere in that range. That's just kind of just spitballing off the top of our heads.
And you're okay to install that even if it's a stone foundation, correct?
yeah, I mean, they'll have to saw cut and kind of clean up the opening to get it to like a nice uniform rough opening. They'll have to probably grout the sides to create, a nice box for that thing to install into. But it's done all the time. It's not that complicated.
And actually that house also has some, I guess, basement windows.
There's some pre-existing stuff on the side of the house underneath one of the bow windows. There's an opening that we could utilize potentially. So yeah, we would try to reuse whatever openings we can find.
And then create new ones.
And then create new ones if we need to.
So if that's something that you guys would like us to put in, we can definitely do that. That's not an issue on our end.
Okay, and just so I'm clear too, that guesstimate of the 4,000 to 6,000, that's just for the flood vent. That's not talking about like additional contractor labor when we put this out to bid.
Yeah, so you figure flood vents probably, I don't know, I'd have to look, but I mean,
They're like $300 or $400. They're not that expensive of
Okay.
I think that
a
was
product.
installed cost.
And then the rest of the cost
is just labor.
Is labor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's call it like $1,000 for the whole package. But honestly, I haven't researched flood vents in a while. And with materials going up, they could have gone up, and maybe they're not 300, they're like 600. So then it's like
Yeah.
$1,200, but
And it's in the,
it's,
it's somewhere in that range.
it's,
It's
yeah,
between 1,000 and 2,000 a piece,
Yeah.
you know?
all inclusive, labor and material. It's not a lot of money in comparison to the entire project itself.
Yeah, I think that's a
And if
good,
it's something that's important to you guys, then we should put it in.
that's definitely a best practice, and this house will flood again. Like,
Yeah.
someday we will
Okay.
flood again, and this house will definitely flood.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, since we're on the subject of basement and flooding, is someone made a comment about vapor barrier in the basement. And we've been wrestling with this idea because normally, yes, we do install a vapor barrier in basements. What's given me pause with this project is everyone in the room today knows at some point this house is going to flood. And typically the way we do a vapor barrier in the basement is it's an EPDM membrane that runs across the basement floor. It goes up some distance on the wall and then terminates on the wall. Essentially, we're creating a giant bathtub. If we get surface drainage that gets into that basement, there's going to be standing water down there with nowhere for it to go. So the way we set up the drawing so far is to just forego the vapor barrier, level out the dirt in that basement, and then install about 6 inches of pea gravel just to kind of clean it up. But I don't know of a good way to install a vapor barrier in a way that's actually going to do what it needs to do. No gaps, everything's sealed. If that significantly floods, there's no way to get that water out of that basement other than pumping it out. I don't know if that's something, I don't know if that's a condition that you want to set up. And so I just wanted to raise the question to the board today, but that's a decision that's going to have to be made. We can do things in our detailing that try to maybe install the vapor barrier up at the underneath of the first floor framing, just to try to prevent moisture from getting into the house. But as far as the basement itself goes, I don't know, my recommendation at this point is just a gravel floor over dirt, and we just ventilate the basement so it doesn't trap a lot of moisture down there. But I don't know of a better way to handle it. Even if we install the sump pump in that basement, significant flooding is going to inundate that pump, and then that's not going to operate either. So
It's going to be submerged.
yeah, it'll be submerged. So
our recommendation is not to put a vapor barrier in the basement in case there's future flooding, for that water to kind of dissipate back down into the ground itself, and not have kind of a bathtub effect.
Yeah, I'm fine with the experts.
The idea of doing something up near sort of the ceiling of the basement or your sort of alternate could be good, because it does help prevent, moisture drive up into the house on
Yeah.
the 99% of the time when it isn't flooded, but totally understood on why the traditional vapor barrier is not a good solution.
Yeah.
So thanks for talking through that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And thanks for listening, because it's something that Corey and I have wrestled over for a while.
yeah,
to
it's
really-
just not a condition we come in contact with very often. So
Yeah.
But we know what Owego looked like back in 2011, and at
Yeah.
some point in the future, that's likely to happen again.
Right.
So
at some point. So that's, is there any other questions you guys had to do with flood prevention, things like that? I think we covered all of it, but I just want to make sure if we didn't, we can talk about that now.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully people on our zoning and planning boards will just.
That's the mayor of the village. He's saying, hopefully everybody on the planning and zoning board will approve this, no problem.
Yeah, okay.
Because flooding is one big, like,
Flooding is a big issue for them.
Yeah,
Hot
no,
button
understood.
topic.
Yes, I would say flooding is a big issue for Broome County, just in
in general,
general, right? This is Tioga County too, so Broome County and Tioga County. So,
I always explain to people the area that we live that aren't from here, and I always often characterize us as a pretty natural disaster-free region of the country except for flooding. I always throw that caveat in. Correct.
We talk about salvage material. So I think one of the, I'm not necessarily going in order, I'm just
Yeah,
going
sure.
off of memory, but there was a comment about salvaged or reused material.
Yeah, that was Leslie's question.
Yep. And so, and it had to do with basically a lot of the trim and some other components inside the house itself.
Yeah. So our plan is to, as part of the demolition package for this property, where we're going to tear off the dilapidated structures on the back, we're also going to be removing interior wall and ceiling substrates. So as part of that process, we're going to direct the contractor to carefully remove all the interior trim, number, catalog, all that good stuff. And then when the project for renovation happens, those walls will be exposed, exterior walls will be insulated, interior walls will be running, services, piping, electric, branch wiring, things like that. And then new drywall is going to be going back on those walls. So after that new drywall happens, then the existing trim will be reinstalled as the trim everywhere that it can be used. Now, the trim in the house isn't pristine everywhere. So there are some areas where we're going to have to try to get the contractor to kind of mill something that matches. And we'll try to minimize that obviously as much as possible. But there will be cases where the contractor is going to have to try to match what's there because we just don't have good, viable material for everything.
Not enough quantity.
Yeah.
And this is just specifically for the main level. We weren't necessarily thinking about that at the second level. If there's some salvage trim and things like that at the second level that we could possibly use to match up in the first level, we would do that, and then we would basically install kind of some sort of standard trim, at the second level, which is kind of the private level, right? It's all the bedrooms,
right,
bathrooms, stuff like that. On the first level, it's more of kind of the public space, right? Living rooms, parlors, kitchens, dining spaces. So wanting the trim to be a little bit more historic at the first level than at the second level. That was kind of our compromise, concessions, I guess. So we're going to try to do that. And I know that we're not going to probably have enough quantities in certain areas. So we're just going to have to adjust the way the contractor has to install that stuff.
Yeah, because also keep in mind that, we're actually subdividing some of the space on the first level too, and we're creating more linear feet of partition. So what we take out is not going to equal what we need to put back because we're just going to have just more linear feet of wall space that we're going to have to put trim on. So,
right.
So that's going to factor too. And the other thing I'll say on the exterior of the building, the decorative elements that were previously covered in aluminum cladding, we're going to re-expose those and restore as much of it as we can. And then also we're going to call on the contractor to replicate missing, broken, damaged, deteriorated pieces. So when we're done, everything kind of looks cohesive and the way that the building originally was put together back at the turn of the century. Correct.
Is there anything salvageable from the back part that's going to be demolished, or is that all pretty much garbage?
It is pretty
rough. It is
Okay.
pretty rough. And that back part is, I was just there recently checking on some things to do some field work, and with the snow, it was the warm day we had early last week, and that roof is leaking like a sieve. It is just dripping water inside the back of that house. So anything wood it's compromised. It's soft, it's spongy, it's growing mold. I wouldn't trust anything coming out of that back portion that we're going to demolish. But that's a good thought. Love to be able to salvage some material out of there, but I just don't think it's a good candidate for that, honestly.
Do you guys see any historic stuff on the outside of the home that you think is going to be like crazy expensive to redo? Like example, like we've got
the only thing that comes to mind is the brackets that are up at the roof eave They're kind of like a decorative, historic kind of scrolly French curve kind of shape. It's kind of in my back pocket that once we get a contractor on board, there's probably going to be a discussion about our requirements to replicate those. So then I think we're going to be faced with a decision. Do we restore what's restorable and then replicate, have someone handcraft and replicate replacements where we need them? Or do we just remove them all and put something back in its place that's off the shelf? Off the shelf, but it's kind of, in the spirit of what's there, is another way to approach it. And, it's going to probably come down to cost and time. And, it may make more sense to just put in a modern equivalent, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I haven't really, I think that discussion is best saved for either during bidding or after the contract is awarded to a contractor to just really sit down. We always de-scope with whoever it's going to be, make sure they have everything covered, and kind of talk about some of the more intricate, meticulous aspects to the project and come up with a plan to kind of approach those, because a lot of this comes down to means and methods and the skill level of the contractor.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And do you have any experience like dealing with SHPO over that kind of stuff?
We do.
We do, not with those decorative trim elements specifically, but that's also a discussion. Now, if SHPO is going to weigh in and we need to be beholden to their standards, I know what they're going to say. They're going to say
we need to replicate.
We're going to replicate it. That's those are the types of things that SHPO tends to really focus on.
So, and Sarah, maybe you can kind of answer this. Is SHPO going to dissect this project like they would other historic projects? Because we've dealt with other historic projects where we've had to replicate, trim pieces, decorative trim pieces. But are they going to be involved in that level?
So this will be kind of like my part of it. Once we finalize this design, I'll submit it back to my contact at SHPO who originally approved the demolition. I don't think they're going to be as nitpicky because they're not putting money into this. So this is like not a historic tax credit situation.
Yeah.
They have understood in the past, like with 81 North, when it's cost prohibitive to us as a land bank to restore the existing items, just like the windows, they typically, I can't guarantee it, but they typically will say it's okay if you have to replace it. Like Corey said, if it's in the spirit of aesthetically looking historic, I think they'll be okay with it. But I can't make the promise.
One thing we can do to try to protect the land bank from a costing and bidding standpoint, we could always put it in the base bid that the contractor is going to replace it all with a modern equivalent. We can put in an alternate that they have to restore and replicate. And that way the land bank will get numbers for each. And then you can kind of know what it's worth to actually do it the SHPO way. And if it's not a big difference in cost, then maybe it makes sense. You know what I mean?
But if it is a difference in cost, it's always nice to kind of see that comparison. Even if you don't select the add alternate of replicating it, the way it was at the turn of the century. We always like to kind of see that cost and to see what a contractor would put a number to. So something we can do.
I haven't done a count on those scrolly brackets, but in most cases, there's two of them kind of in pairs, kind of spread. So when you look at the front of the house now, it's all clad in aluminum, but that wider cladding is actually covering two. I can. You want to pull up a photo?
No, just the PDF of the cover sheet.
Oh, this.
Yeah, and you can just kind of share
So
that.
when we had our initial meeting, there's going to be a lot of
It's the wrong share.
Oops.
You got to get to the
so that we can see the price difference between
Oh,
historic preservation versus
Yeah, and then share.
yeah, Sarah, if I share my screen now, will you guys see it?
Do you guys see that?
I just don't want to schedule
Yes.
a point.
Oh.
I just don't want to schedule a point and then like somebody can.
Yeah, so up at the main roof, we've got they're in pairs. So I haven't done a count, but I'm guessing we have about, I don't know,
a lot.
at least 50 of these things on the house.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 20, 30, 40, yeah, at least 40. Well, there's probably.
And then we have smaller versions at the porches. So there's probably another 30 of those, when you add them all up. So there's quite a few, you know, and they're around the bow windows.
Yeah.
Um,
So there's the quantity.
there's quite a lot of, and that's kind of my point. So,
Get me into school, I'll make those. No, I only asked that question because we bid a clock tower and the exterior of it, there's some like very custom railings that like nobody should be out there to use a railing. And this thing came in over $1 million to just do the exterior.
Right.
You guys will have.
I mean, the good thing is that the porches, they're like knee walls, so they're not like decorative spindles. So what I was saying is that the porches, you see the front porch, the side porch, it's not like they're decorative spindles or
for the railing.
for the railings and stuff like that. It's just a knee wall. So that's a good thing for us that we don't have to replicate those every 4 inches on center.
Right.
It's really just kind of the brackets at the roof.
Yeah.
Porch.
I mean, those historic details on the outside, it really is just the brackets and then the column capitals.
But that replicate.
But replicating this column capital is easy. It's just a buildup of various trim pieces, and that's all really easily achievable. It's just that these kind of scrolly decorative things are just take a little more skill and craftsmanship than
a little bit more finesse.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, you cited that $1 million project. I mean, that's really what you're paying for is, you know, the people that are out there that have the skills and are willing to do this are kind of few and far between. So you're paying a premium for that level of craftsmanship for sure.
But it's a great question too, and it's something that, you know, we're constantly thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the alternate idea is great. There was multiple sort of great call on that, so we can kind of see what that cost outlook is.
Yeah, I mean, we try to do that with most of our projects when we have one of those variables where, you know, everyone wants a certain thing, but everybody's also kind of wincing at how much it's going to cost. So let's just find out and have a plan B already. You get the best bang for your buck if it's in the bid documents. If you try to negotiate this after you're going to award to somebody, you're not going to get as much value. Right. So anything we can put into the bid and make it an alternate, then everybody's competitively putting those numbers together, and then at least you're getting, you know, the best market value for whatever that is.
Right. There was another question that had to do with a roof slope on the side porch. Am I correct by saying that?
Yes, yep.
Yeah. So if you guys can see our screen, you know, that side porch, you know, it is kind of a flat roof, but it does have a pitch, and it's positively drained kind of to the front or to the side of the house. One of the things that we can try to introduce to sort of divert waterway is a gutter system. It doesn't have a gutter system on there now, but it's something that we can try to introduce. But we don't see that being an issue as far as water ponding on that small little flat roof. It does have positive pitch to it.
I still need to do a little bit of field investigation on these porches. I mean, the front one is just so deteriorated and falling down that we're just already planning on, we're just going to reframe and rebuild all this. The side porch, I'm still not sure if the roof assembly itself can be salvaged or not. Right now, I'm kind of got things set up that it can be, but I need to get out there and do a little more investigation. To give you an example, when I was on site last week, this column here where my hand is going up and down, it's not even attached to the roof. The whole column head, you can just move it like this, and it's not supporting the roof at all. So right now that roof is really just kind of like nailed and somehow cantilevering it out, and I don't know how, but it is. So you know, we're definitely going to be replacing these posts because they're so deteriorated. I just haven't really gotten into really looking at this roof assembly in detail yet to understand if we can save that or not. If we have to rebuild it, it's much easier for us to introduce a slope. That's kind of where I was going with that point. So I'll know more in a couple weeks when I can really determine whether we can save that roof or not.
Makes sense.
Anybody have any other questions for them?
Is that all the questions?
That was
I think there
all.
was on the elevation, there was a chimney shown, but then it looked like the
Yes.
chimney was being
Oh,
removed,
yes,
so
yes,
that
yes.
wasn't.
Yeah,
allowed,
so,
right?
so that chimney is actually being rebuilt.
Yeah.
And I think, it doesn't necessarily show in this image, but Sarah was kind enough to get a drone out there, take pictures kind of from the top level down. And so we do have every intention of sort of rebuilding that chimney because we are saving the fireplace and the chimney itself, that runs through the internal part of the house. So, I did forget about that question, but yes, we are rebuilding that.
Great.
Was there any other ones that we might have forgotten or missed? I'm just trying to remember.
I don't think so.
I covered most of it.
I think you guys did a
One
good
of the-
job.
Do you guys have any other questions for us? Like just general questions that maybe weren't on like, the comments that Sarah sent us. Is there anything else that you guys want to ask us?
Getting lots of
Oh.
head shakes.
Yeah, no,
All
unless
makes
there's
sense.
I mean, so our next step is, Sarah sent us, she started the application for, well, it's
OHBC.
not caught, it's, OPHC,
Yeah.
right? Is that OPHC?
Oh, close.
The historic
OHBC.
board.
Is that the acronym?
Yeah, you're good.
OH,
Okay.
OHPC?
Yep.
Or OHP. So that's our next step. We're gonna complete the application, and then we're gonna submit documentation, to that board, because obviously that's part of, the approval process. So we'll get that going here shortly. And then, we'll work with Sarah, to package up these things and get it to the, our SHPO partner too, right? So that they
Yeah.
can kind of review and provide any comments. And then, I'll get with, our surveyor to get that, elevation certificate. So we have that in hand. So when we get a building permit, that's not going to hold us up, in that process. But, our goal is to bid this out in two parts. And Sarah, I don't know if you want to explain, but the first part is a demo part, right? So we're going to remove, that kind of dilapidated section of the house that was built. It's kind of like an addition, along with some of the interior demolition and environmental remediation. That's kind of bid package one. And then bid package two is basically, kind of rebuilding the house. So that's kind of the process that we're going to go through. And we're going to try to stagger those within like a 4-week time period per month.
Perfect.
Some information that we're gonna have to obtain, and it's gonna probably come from your town public works department. I will do a quick screenshot here. There. So this is the site plan that I'm clipping. And I'll draw some lines on this. So this is kind of the boundary of the portion of the house we're taking down. And change color and make that a little less bad. Right now, the sanitary for the house exits here somewhere, goes to Spencer Ave. The house currently has no building services, so it has no sanitary system in the house anymore.
Yeah.
There's no domestic water, there's no electrical service, there's no gas service. So we're gonna have to provide all those new services for the house. There's a utility pole here, and an overhead line for electric is easy. I'm not too worried about that one, but the information I'm gonna need from Public Works is where we're getting new domestic water from, and where we can enter the house, and also natural gas, and then also where they want our sanitary to exit the house and connect to the municipal system. So those are some variables and questions that we're going to have to answer in the coming weeks.
And that's where we'll have to get Veolia involved for the water.
Who's that?
Veolia is the water supplier.
Our water's a private company, but that's fine.
Okay.
And then
Did you guys have that? You have contact information
I
from the
do.
municipal that you could send us, and then we'll reach out to them.
and then our sewer is the village, so.
Sewer is a village.
it's not big.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, electric is pretty easy. It's just overhead.
Yeah, because I'm guessing we're still going to grab all those services from Spencer Ave, but
They could tell us differently.
they could tell us something different. Yeah.
And maybe they want us to be on Main Street.
I don't think there's any manholes or anything on Spencer in the vicinity of this house. So it's going to be a kind of like a joint contractor village kind of construction project to excavate, extend these services. Because I think, typically the municipality will extend it to your property line and you got to pick it up from there. and bring
Right
it
from the sidewalk.
Yeah,
It's
basically.
almost like from the sidewalk. Yeah, we got to pick it up from there. So,
Yeah.
like Corey was saying, it's kind of like a joint venture. We'll have our contractor, then the municipality will get involved too, and how it kind of gets connected to the street. Whether it's on Spencer Ave or it's Main Street, it's something that we just need to find out. And what their preference is, really.
We can get all the info over to you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Anything else?
I don't think so. That was my big question for today.
Okay. I hope we were helpful in answering all your questions, any concerns you have, and I always tell Sarah, if you guys have any questions, just she's good about kind of keeping us in the loop, so don't be afraid to ask. And we thought that all the questions were good questions.
Thanks for making time
Yeah,
for us.
Thank you guys so much for
Thanks.
jumping on.
Yeah. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, okay?
Thank
too.
you. You too.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, you're off screen to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Where did it go? Cool. So we're still live streaming. Okay. Great. So we feel better about 247 Main. Awesome. Okay. Refocus. Okay. Other really quick project updates. 121 Providence. It's going great. They're painting. He was wanting to get the kitchen installed this week, but the countertops won't come till next week. So it's cruising along. We should be done with that really, really soon.
Good.
So only good things to say there. 6264 North Avenue, the New York Main Street project that we're acting as a pass-through agency for Alex Duda. The bids for that are due tomorrow. So we'll know more tomorrow what's happening with that project. Any questions about those?
121 Providence, we're selling that on the open market. Have we engaged a realtor or is that premature for now?
Premature for now.
Okay.
I'd wait until we're a little bit closer to the finish.
Awesome.
Okay. Move on to approval of the committee members.
Proceeds of that sale
Oh, yes,
stay here?
yes.
Can't remember. I knew there's,
Well, I think there's talk about changing.
There's
that.
talk about changing that at the state level, but nothing's official yet.
So we gotta sell them now.
Get it done.
changing it so it goes back to the state.
As program income, yes. But it's not official, there's just rumors, it's a rumor mill. So, as of right now, when we sell it,
Okay.
yep, the proceeds go back into any project that we want it to go into. Okay, to go to approve our committee members. I know Hannah, you emailed me, I think this morning, you're on all three. It's tough with Joan being out of the state, out of the state in the beginning of the year. If we get that seventh board member on, I think it'll be a lot more spread evenly between everybody for committee moving forward. But ideally, we'll only meet for each of the committees probably once a year. So like audit committee, we do need to at least decide that today because we have to review the audit for approval. So we meet the ABO deadline. But how did everybody feel about the committees?
Yeah.
me out.
Ray loves
Can
it.
you, yeah.
Ray is
It's
the
fine.
same.
I don't know what other choice we have.
I read through
Yeah.
our charters because two of them, you have to have certain people as the chair, so,
Yes.
okay. Want to do a motion in a second?
Is there a motion to approve the committees as presented?
So,
Thanks, Josh. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Great. Okay, I included in the packet for you guys, and then I printed out. I just wanted to give you a really quick update on what the New York Land Bank Association has been working on. So I'm part of their executive board, and then also on the rural committee, and then we also have our regular association meeting. So there's 31 land banks in New York State. In the new budget, I sent in your packet what we went over for our 2025 priorities. I printed out for you today what they're resending in February of 26. The state budget has allowed for 10 more land banks, but they're not increasing the funding, saying that land banks are spending the money too slowly. So there's 14 million left. However, that does not mean that money is not committed. So the issue that we're having as the association is saying that money is committed to projects and it will be spent. And if you don't put new money in, there's not going to be money for new projects coming up this year. So basically the priority right now is for the association to talk to everybody we possibly can to say, please approve more funding for land banks, especially because they put really good stats in here. We've done a lot. Tara compiled a bunch of our data, and the association put it in a big spreadsheet, and they got all these numbers of how much, land banks have put back into the tax rolls for New York State, the number of units we've put back into productive use. So I just thought this was something really good to share with you guys, just so you can kind of see what we work on behind the scenes. It's not super glorious, but we are working really hard with our contacts to just explain the mission of land banks and how effective they are. And that's why they're allowing 10 more of them, because we are effective. So we're just asking for continued funding moving forward. So if at any point you want to share that information, I thought would be good for you guys to have.
Appreciate it.
Any questions about it? Okay, so then we need to talk, do you want to go right into the property management discussion and approving or disapproving, whatever you guys feel, with our proposal? So we sent that over. Really the only thing that we're asking for approval for at this point is to have your blessing for Tara and I to do it in-house and to purchase the subscription for the tenant cloud software so that we can start doing whatever we need to get the 2 units leased up for residential. And then hopefully moving forward, if we get future units, this would allow us to kind of grow exponentially.
I expressed my concerns for your all's time, really.
Sure.
Is what it comes down to. I don't know. Thanks for copying everybody on that. So
Yeah,
I'm all
yeah.
reading from the same book.
Right.
Do other people have feedback or thoughts on the value of their time?
I value their time, but we don't have a ton of other option. We went
Yeah.
out for our
2 or 3
yeah, and
times.
we're getting nothing back. So at the end of the day, what choice do we have at this point?
I think, yeah, and like I said, we have talked about it at length. I've talked to Britt about it. I feel comfortable doing it. Let's try it, see how it works. We'll be very honest. If it gets to a point where we're like, this is eating way too much of our time, it's affecting, our workflow. And at that point, we'll reevaluate. And maybe by then we can come up with somebody in the meantime that we can find to do property management for us. But I think at this point, we're sitting on a building that's got 2 vacant units. We know that our expenses are going to start piling up. So I think it's worth it to get it leased.
It could be rented.
It could be rented, and we have that kind of safety net that we're under the 1-year warranty for work, so it's not very hard when something breaks for me to deal with it right now.
And the sooner we get them occupied, the sooner those problems will expose
That's
themselves.
Right.
true.
Yes.
True.
Because honestly,
Yeah.
with Catherine, I was going
convenience.
back and forth quite a bit in the beginning, but now that she's in there, I never hear from her. She pays her rent and that's it. So I think we'll be okay.
So is there a motion to approve the property management tenant cloud subscription? If the discussion we're all seem to be aligned.
So moved.
Mike, is there a second?
So,
Thanks, Josh. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Awesome, great. Okay, so in that same vein, we just need to approve the lease amendment for Simple Form Pilates. I would say contingent upon Joe's blessing. I've not gotten it back from him yet on his approval of the language. But we'd basically be increasing her lease term to 3 years and including a 1% rent increase annually.
Makes sense. Is there a motion to approve that? Josh, thank you. Is there a second? Thanks, Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Perfect. And then the last item, I'm just reaffirming that email vote we did for approving the storage agreement for 4850 Lake Street.
Is there a motion?
So,
Thanks, Mike. Second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Ray. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
That's all I have.
Look at us.
Ryan. There is executive session for contract negotiations down here, but does our guest want to say anything?
Oh, no, I'm the county administrator. No, nothing to say, just listen and observe.
Excellent. Thanks for making time for us.
Oh, absolutely. I'm literally always here.
You were on vacation recently.
That one week.
He was emailing everybody while he was out.
Oh, no.
love it. Just can't get away.
So Britt, were you gonna stay and give us context on the contract negotiation stuff? Cool. All right, so I think can we make a motion to go into exec session?
Yeah,
For contract negotiations.
Brittany and
I think Jackson and I will stay. That's good.
Jeff, just put that in motion.
Perfect.
Inviting Brittany
Matt.
and Jackson.
Thank you for helping Kathy.
Yeah, and you're exactly what the reason is.
Yes,
Contract negotiation.
very specific language.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm gonna stop the
There's an
stream.
update for a clerk.
Yeah.
File got corrupted or something, or we don't know, it's just in record. Oh.
Yeah, absolutely.